Aye, what they talking about? They ain't talking about none. What they talking about? They ain't talking about none. What they talking about? They ain't talking about none. What they talking about? They ain't talking about none. Huh? They ain't talking about none. Pickable, I just put them bookers in my chain. Pickable, 80 pointers like a Kobe game. Pickable, 7.62s to make them plank. Pickable, popping out, you better smell my name.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of The What? My name is Eric, and thank you guys for tuning in, listening, however you're consuming this. I want to say thank you guys for the continued support each and every week. I've just been, trying to incorporate new things, and, with the resources I have, I've hit some speed bumps, but so far everything has been going pretty good. Definitely want to make some improvements, be a little bit more consistent with other social media platforms outside of Instagram, outside of YouTube. So yeah, we're gonna keep on going with that. But today we will be discussing Jay-Z and his return to quote unquote being outside. He recently just announced his return to live shows with the announcement of him headlining Roots Picnic Festival. When they first dropped the flyer, he was the only name that was announced, which I don't think they ever done before, with just one person being announced before everyone else. And there was a pre-link to the tickets, and of course pre-link tickets sold out. So yeah, he will be headlining Roots Picnic. But in addition to that, with the 30th anniversary of his first album, Reasonable Doubt, and the 25th anniversary of his, I think that was his fifth album, I believe, Blueprint 1, because you got Reasonable Doubt, Volume 1, 2, 3, Dynasty, and then Blueprint. Okay. With the anniversary of Reasonable Doubt and Blueprint, and with the anniversary of Reasonable Doubt and Blueprint this year, Reasonable Doubt turning 30, and then Blueprint turning 25. In addition to headlining Roots Picnic Festival, he will be doing 2 exclusive shows in Yankee Stadium for the celebration of the anniversaries of Reasonable Doubt, which came out 30 years ago, and then anniversary of the Blueprint, which came out 25 years ago. Those shows, the Blueprint show, the Reasonable Doubt show will be July 10th of this year, 2026, and then the next day will be the Blueprint show, which will be July 11th of this year. So with those, of course, with those announcements comes, different conversations about Jay-Z, and, some of them not music related, but we won't get into that today. But there was a discussion about there was a discussion about his discography ranking and how it's ranked. I believe years ago he ranked his own albums. I think this was before Magna Carta came out. But yeah, so with all the ranking of Jay-Z's albums, I've decided I'm going to rank my top 5 Jay-Z albums in celebration of him coming back to live stages, live performances. And I would be remiss to not mention the fact that he possibly will be coming out with an album. There was an interview recently with a producer. His name is Bink. He has produced many songs for Jay-Z, including 18900 Hustler on Dynasty. He did a couple on Blueprint. I can't remember exactly what he did before, but he's done some significant records. And he was asked about Jay-Z, and he said that Jay-Z took quite a few quote unquote, quite a few beats from him last year. So I think that just confirms that he definitely is recording, and he possibly could be putting something out. We never know, but we do have these concerts going with the celebration of his work. So I want to give my Jay-Z top 5 album rankings of his, starting with number 5, which will be Jay-Z, which would be starting off with number 5 will be Jay-Z's The Blueprint. Now, I know that I just talked about the anniversary of Blueprint, and how it's a classic. It's obviously a classic. It's obviously one of his most career-defining albums, and it's in a lot of people's top 2 or 3. But to me, especially just going back and listening to it most recently, out of all these albums, well, I listened to Reasonable Doubt too, but as a recent, but just listening to it recently, there's just more skips than I had remembered. Like songs like Hola Ovito and Jigga That Nigga. It's just songs that I don't necessarily need to listen to while I'm listening to the album, especially when you have crazy bangers like Takeover, and especially when you have crazy bangers like Takeover or You Don't Know or Encore, like these signature songs that go into Jay-Z's history, that are etched inside as one of his most important songs. Those, bring the value of the album up in terms of his discography. And he was rapping well, so I will say that he was rapping actually pretty good. But it's just the combination of sometimes the flow being lazy, and which I think that's where he got the nickname Lazy, was from his flow at times. But overall, in general, I do think it's a good album. It's just not up there in terms of Jay-Z albums for me. So yeah, that's Blueprint. Blueprint is definitely my number 5. Now my number 4 would be American Gangster. Now, what elevates this album to Blueprint for me, what elevates this album over Blueprint for me, which I think, it's a pick'em for me. It could go either way. But just how I'm feeling today, I think Blueprint would be 5th, but American Gangster definitely has less skips than Blueprint to me, and I think, the rapping's up there, and pretty much it's like, because Reasonable Doubt came out in 96, and then American Gangster comes out in 97. I'm tripping. Reasonable Doubt came out in 96, and then American Gangster comes out in 2007, and by the time 2007 comes around, Jay-Z is a bona fide superstar. He's basically done it all in his career. He's accumulated millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, and he kind of goes back to the mafioso themed album with American Gangster, and he kind of combined those themes with what was going on in his real life, being the uber successful, uber rich rapper, which turned out to be pretty good work, which I enjoyed very much, and it is number 4 on the list. Now, number 3, I would put Black Album. Again, Black Album is a lot of people's favorite Jay-Z album, if not 2. If it's not 1, it's 2. So, there's another thing with that which people might be confused with. But again, this is my list, and this is how I feel about Jay-Z's. This is my list, and this is how I feel about Jay-Z's discography. So, yeah, deal with it. But yes, the Black Album, Jay-Z's quote-unquote retirement album, which turned out to be very, very false. But at the time, it was supposed to be Jay-Z's last album, and I definitely think he put his best foot forward in terms of just executing on different types of production, using different flows, with each beat being drastically different than the other. There's some similar ones on there, but I would say like a December 4th is drastically different than Dirt on Your Shoulders, or if 99 Problems is different than Public Service Announcement. So there was definitely a variety there, while also being able to stay concise with the album, and the theme of, this is my going out party, so I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. But yeah, this is very similar to Blueprint for me, and as where there's definitely a few skips on here, but the songs that are strong are very strong, and they hold high, and the lexicon of Jay-Z. But as an album, I can't listen to it as straightforward as the next two I'm going to talk about, which will be my number 2, which is 444. I will say with 444, I've recently seen people give it a lot of not negative, but they rank it very low in their discography, and I have seen definitely some negative feedback from it. But to me, this album is almost perfect. First of all, it's 10 tracks. It's the shortest amount of tracks on a Jay-Z album, which I thought was interesting when it first came out, and especially when you have the Blueprint 2 and how long that is. Volume 1 is 14, 15 tracks, 16 tracks actually. Then Dynasty 16, the Black Album 14, Reasonable Doubt 15. So we always stayed between that 14, that 14 to 16 track range for an album, which doing 444 and it being 10 tracks was definitely interesting to see, and it also left room for no error, which I don't think he left any error on this album. I mean, just all the production I love, from Kill Jay-Z down to Story of OJ, is just very much lo-fi. It's very choppy. The beats on here, I don't see Jay-Z in 2000 being able to write on this. Not that he couldn't, but the way he executed this album and what he was talking about and how he was talking about it, I don't think we would have gotten that 20. And him being, I think at the time he was like mid 50s, maybe maybe a little bit less than that, but yeah, just almost every song, either you just get straight rap songs, or concept songs. You get introspection, which this is definitely the most introspective Jay-Z has been throughout an album consistently, which I think is dope. But yeah, this turned out to be a very good album. Yeah, shout out to Jay-Z for putting out 444. But my number 1 favorite Jay-Z album, Reasonable Doubt. Jay-Z came out in 96. Not really critically acclaimed when it first arrived, but later on it was definitely looked at as a classic. But to me, I don't see how you can't I mean, there's things into being classics, but just listening to it, from Can't Knock the Hustle, Politics as Usual, Brooklyn's Finest, Dead Presidents 2, is just, this goes on a long run of just great tracks. It goes on this long run of great tracks, and it probably stops around 22 twos. And 22 twos isn't bad, but it definitely slows down the momentum of the last tracks. But then we get right with Can I Live, which is, honestly, you could say it's like a top 2 Jay-Z song. And, you know, Ain't No Nigga, that's the only song that could be a skip, is Ain't No Nigga. And, yeah, Friend or Foe, Coming of Age, is just really good starter for him, which would be, you know, mafioso raps and being a part of that Italian aesthetic that's featured on the cover of the album, I think permeated throughout his career. So yeah, Reasonable Doubt, definitely my favorite Jay-Z album. And it's kind of rare how you have your first album and your last album be up there for me, but yeah, he definitely did that. Shout out to Jay-Z for putting out incredible work for us to rank and have some fun with. But yeah, definitely have fun with that. And this next topic I'm gonna definitely have fun with, which today is the anniversary of the Future and Metro album, We Still Don't Trust You, which we did get out of that Metro and Future album came one of the greatest dog whistles in hip hop history, with Kendrick Lamar doing what he did on that Like That verse, and him just declaring himself what he became, which was Big Me, not the Big Three. There is no more Big Three because of Kendrick. And you could say because of other people's actions, but we're not going to get into that today. But in terms of Like That and its impact, that also started another conversation. Looked at the past diss tracks from Kendrick and Drake and decided to rank them, which I did as well. This is my ranking for the diss tracks between Kendrick and Drake. I think I will start with... Let's start from the bottom down. I'll start at number 9. Number 9 to me is Tailor Made Freestyle. While the production was great, I do think he had some clever things in there. I would say this failed completely as a diss. I would also say him using the Tupac AI and the Snoop Dogg AI was also another failure to the song. I think one of the most important lines in the song was, you know, tell him that you like young girls, it's got to be true. Or I don't think it went like that exactly, but he was basically saying, you know, tell them, Kendrick, tell them that I like young women. And then we see later on, I will mention songs that he did in fact say that he is in love with young women. This gave Kendrick the most ammo out of anything involving the disses. Tailor Made Freestyle. Number 8, I'm going to go with 616 in LA. I would say this is as low as it is, not due to the rapping. I thought the rapping was good. It's really good. I thought the beat was... that production was dope. The sample he used and all that, just... it could have turned out a great to excellent diss. And it turned out to be just okay. He didn't really. He said something about KTW, which to this day I don't know what that means. And he also talked about academics and stop harassing my manager, and you know, does OVO work for me? As just it's a nice listen as just a song more than a diss track to me. Number 7, I'm going with Drake's Heart Part 6. In terms of rapping, compared to TaylorMade and 616, this is definitely one of the best rapping out of the last couple of diss tracks that came out. What puts Heart Part 6 low, it was a lot of defense on the track, which I get because of what you're trying to convince people that you're not, but at the same time you brought it upon yourself, which you using that is bleh. But I would say also with the Heart Part 6, I would say that it's damn near my favorite beat out of all the diss tracks. Well, there's one I'll discuss which has 3 switches, which, yeah, 3 switches. If we're talking about just singular beats, I think that has some of the best production out of the whole battle. But it's just certain things he tried to do with the bars, and for the most part he rapped well, but those tiny things kind of took away from the song. And then how he kind of does like a bow out with the song, which he didn't need to do that either, but he did it. So yeah, you doing that is gonna cost you. Especially also another line which brings this song to me down. He said something about I could give a fuck about your streaming data. You better save that bread, you're gonna need it for later, something like that. Which alludes to the lawsuit, which turned out to be one of the dumbest moves in the battle in general, him doing a lawsuit. So that was like the prelude to that. So yeah, thank you Heart Part 6 for that bullshit you did as well. Now, next, number 6. Now, after the 7th track, this is where the songs start to get good. Push-Ups being number 6. I thought Push-Ups was a nice little cool response, going at a couple different people. I think also he said talking about Kendrick's site, how the fuck you big stepping with a size 7 men's on. I thought was funny. This was definitely it was like a good starter to the beef. Yes, I enjoyed this. Were there mistakes made? Minimal mistakes. But I would say him also rapping against other people, he killed them as well. Which I won't say he killed Kendrick, but he killed. But yeah, Push-Ups, pretty good. Not bad at all. Now we get into the top 5, which my number 5 is Future and Metro's Like That, with the Kendrick verse. Like I mentioned before, this song had major impact on it being the flashbang to War. It was the flashbang to War with this track, and I think less important than his lyrics is his tone and delivery, and how he sounds like he's ready for any type of action. And he said that with his words, of course, but he said it with his tone. Like, one of my favorite lines on the track is, "I'm way too paranoid for a threat." And me listening to that is like, okay, anything, that might be misconstrued as that is just, I don't want to take it to heart, or else I'm going to take it there. But he felt like he was threatened, and he had to take it there, and he did. And like that was just the start to where the battle eventually went. And that's where I get into my number 4 slot, which is Family Matters. Now, Family Matters in terms of just a straight up diss track without context. If I'm taking everything he says with, full attention and, something that's viable, this could have ended up being the number one diss track of all time. But obviously, that didn't happen. So we're stuck with what we got, which was Family Matters, which is a really good diss track. I think its main detriment to why it shouldn't be higher is the fact that he focused on a lot more other people than he should have, to me. And that's what kind of brings it down as a diss per se, not as a song. Because I think when he went at other people, he was flowing well and he had good bars against them. It's just like this track is supposed to be aimed at Kendrick Lamar. And you're not shooting enough at Kendrick Lamar. And when you tried to have your big missiles, your big bombs with the information that you thought would, do damage, turns out it didn't do much. So that's why I would have that as low as it is. But there is some great rapping on there. I think the instrumentals are really good. But yeah, Family Matters is number 4. Which I'll go to my number 3 track, Meet the Grams. Now, in terms of songs, I think Family Matters is a better song than Meet the Grams. But what Meet the Grams did was extinguish the fires that Family Matters could have potentially ignited. With him doing that, it just showed that he was just thinking way ahead of everyone else, and he took it more seriously to me than Drake did in terms of strategy and not taunting and just letting the music speak and letting your actions do the talking, which Meet the Grams did a lot of talking, a lot of actions, and it was very psychologically induced as a diss track. So yes, Meet the Grams definitely up there. I'd say my only thing I don't like about the song that much is, I'd say my least favorite part of the song is the daughter thing, which is like, okay, I think that if Drake does really have a daughter, obviously this is super effective. If he doesn't, it kind of turns into like, okay, damn, he completely lied about that. But it's also a fact of using this verse to paint Drake in a way which can be obviously used against him. So I would say with Meet the Grams, he was able to do that while maintaining entertainment factor with the voice changes and all that. But yeah, number 3 is Meet the Grams. Number 2, Not Like Us. Not Like Us, obviously everyone knows what Not Like Us is. It became the greatest diss track of all time in terms of metrics and impact and all that. Why it's not number 1 for me, I just don't think rapping wise is as good as number 1 is, which I'll get to that. And then outside of that, I think he did what Drake did to Meek Mill, but just did it at a bigger scale, a bigger level. He did it in a way that no one expected. No one at all expected. So him doing that and the way it turned out and how he was able to do the things he did with Not Like Us and not just, the whole tour and the numbers, but it just basically showed that Kendrick Lamar is one of the GOATs. It was just a reminder that, yeah, he could do these serious diss tracks, but also I'm gonna give you a number one record. I'm gonna give you one of the greatest diss tracks of all time, which he did with Not Like Us. But to me, it's not my favorite diss track out of all these Kendrick versus Drake diss tracks, because my number one is Euphoria. Euphoria, just how it comes in with the Teddy Pendergrass sample and then just goes into the beat switch and just the flows and the urgency in Kendrick's voice. And it was a masterclass in just dissing niggas, because he went at a few guys outside of Drake, but his target was Drake. His target was also J. Cole. He shot at both of them guys on that song and did it in a way that only Kendrick can do, which turned out to be my favorite diss track of all of the diss tracks in this battle. One of my favorite lines in the song, when he says headshots for the year, you better walk around like Daft Punk, because that kind of alludes to him, doing a Super Bowl and then having a stadium tour, him being able to diss Drake on these high level stages. And it's like, damn, these are headshots, like headshots for real. And he definitely was a ruler with that diss track. And that was my number one. So number 9, I have Tailor Made Freestyle. Number 8, I have 616 in LA. Number 7, I have The Hard Part 6. Number 6, I have Push Ups. Number 5, I have Like That. Number 4, I have Family Matters. Number 3, I have Meet the Grams. Number 2, I have Not Like Us. And then number 1, I have Euphoria. So those are my diss track rankings from Kendrick and Drake. And that's the episode. So yes, thank you guys for tuning in, listening, however you're consuming this. And I'm out. Peace.
100,000 for the cheapest ring on the nigga finger, little bitch. I done flew one out to Spain to be in my domain, automata, bitch. Dropped $3 on the ring, cause it been the truck, little bitch. I was in the trap, serving cocaine, they ain't been the same since. Granted, she was standing right there while I catch play on the brick. I made them little niggas go haywire, Taliban in this bitch. I done been down bad in them trenches, had to ride with that stick. Who gave you pills, who gave that guns, Pluto sent you on the lick.